My challenge today is to turn these waste items into planters. Today's video was inspired by the lovely Bridget. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Alana from Upcycling NZ and welcome to my crafting channel. Let's upcycle. I salvaged this rack from a dump store and I really don't know what it was used for. It seems too low to be a mug holder. If you know what it was, let me know in the comments. I've got a black exterior acrylic paint. Also got that from the salvage yard. And I'm just going to give that a refresh. It only needed one coat just to cover any imperfections. I've taken a variety of empty food tins here. And I'm just going to remove the glue with some mineral turpentine. This doesn't work on all glues, but it worked on all of these. I'm using a tuna tin here. This one's a pineapple tin, and the others were all little cat food tins. It's really hot here today, and I've had to close all the doors because the cicada season has started and they are really loud outside. I'll paint these in the colour Craigburn, which is another exterior acrylic paint that I got from the dump store. I get them in big tins and just decant them into smaller containers for use for crafting. If you haven't been to my channel, I'm all about reducing waste, reusing and recycling items. So these needed 3 coats and I let them dry overnight. And this is my plan. I'm going to use the little ones to hang from the hooks. I'm going to put the tuna tin down the bottom and the pineapple tin up the top. I need that pineapple tin to sit up a little bit higher on the rack. So I'm using cooking string and I'm winding it around itself so that the end meets at the top once I've wound it all the way around. I'll trim that off and I'm going to knock that really tight on the tin. This will give the tin enough width so that when I put it back on the rack it'll sit where I want it to. And I'll just close any gaps on the string. Next I'm going to cut 4 30cm lengths of cooking twine for the little tins. Then I'll get some double-sided tape and I'm going to cut tiny little pieces of that just to hold my strings in place while I wind the hanger on. I'll expose a piece of tape on one side, add my string with a little bit of extra, just secure that down, and then make sure that I'm opposite on the other side with my next piece of tape. Then I'm going to have to test that to make sure that it's going to hang straight, and I can adjust it until it does. Then I'll put a little piece of tape at the front, close to the top rim, expose that, and I'll secure my string to the front with the tail down. Now I'll wind it around about 4 times and tie that off to the other string at the front. So just while I'm doing all 4 small tins, I'll explain that Bridget sent me a photograph of a tin that I had upcycled and she'd purchased from me at a market stall. She had used it as a planter and she just wanted to show me how it looked. I was so rapt. I love finding out what happens to my creations. So she's now my friend on Facebook. I do have a Facebook site. It's called Upcycling NZ. You can find all my videos there, and if you send me a friend request, just put a little message with it because I'm a bit wary of Facebook and a bit wary of trolls. So if you have a private Facebook account, I probably won't respond. But message me so I know how I'm connected to you and I will accept your friend request. Then we can talk privately and you can send me photographs if you ever try out any of my ideas. I would love that. So I've finished the little tins and I completed the tuna tin for the bottom as well. I decided to cut all the tails off fairly short. So in the tins I'm going to use little succulents which I've pinched from my mother's garden. You can put drainage holes in these, but because I'm going to put them on a covered patio, I'm just going to use a spray bottle to water them. They don't like being too wet, succulents. I'm recording in the evening now and those cicadas have finally given it a rest, so sorry about the static noise. Let's have a look at our final reveal. the next upcycle, I've got a large coffee tin and I've got 2 large food tins. One had a jagged edge, so I just pressed that down with pliers. I've used Terps again to remove any of the glue residue. Then washed these in hot soapy water. I salvaged this little Art Deco handle off an old tray that was broken. To find the right place to put the screw holes, I'm just dotting around the ends, and I'll centre that so that I can put a hole through with a small nail. The tin was quite soft, so that was quite easy to put a nail in. I'll just remove my marks, and then I'm going to use a larger nail because I needed a larger hole. If I tried to use the large nail first, I probably would have dented the metal. Attaching the little screws was a bit fiddly, I'm not going to lie. I mucked around with it for quite some time, but edited the video so you didn't have to watch all that. And a tip is use the right tool for the job. I tried to use a longer screwdriver and that just wasn't happening. Then I remembered I had this little short stubby one, which made the job a lot faster. That handle is nice and secure on there now. This tin is for housing gardening tools in. The other 2 tins are going to be planters, so I'm putting holes in the sides to put a handle on them, and I'm graduating to a larger nail again. I found that when you poke the nail in the hole and wind it around, that it flattens out any rough edges. Then I could just lightly sand off anything that was left. I'm just flattening those holes again with the pliers. I picked up a packet of corks for 50 cents from a thrift shop, and I'm going to drill a hole through these. I'm very well practiced at using power tools, but I would recommend holding this with a pair of pliers before you drill. You don't want any divots in your digits. I'll be using this soft flexi wire, so I'm just testing that the handle's going to fit. I'll be giving these a light spray of Rust-Oleum clear coat because I want to paint them, and this will help the paint to adhere. I'm using a chalk paint. This is a lovely lilac colour. I was being fussy around the edge because I thought I would leave the edges silver, but I ended up painting them. The next tin I'm painting in a pink. I got these chalk paints super cheap from Kmart here in New Zealand. They're an Anko product. And the colours are Wisteria Mist, Hydrangea Blue and Muted Teal. So it was actually a blue rather than a lilac. These needed 3 coats of paint, and they're going to need a sealer at the end. The colour's not very bright when I'm nighttime filming, unfortunately. I got these images from an old rose book that I picked up from the thrift shop. And I'm just ripping them along a ruler to get them to the size that I want. I'm going to age these with some antiquing wax, and I use a tiny bit on a little sponge that I cut off a pot scrubber and apply that around the edges. The antiquing wax is a folk art product, and I've had this bottle all year, so you don't need to buy very much. You could absolutely skip that step, but I love the vintage look. I'll decoupage these onto my tins, and I'm using a PVA wood glue. You could use any PVA or Mod Podge for this. I'm applying a nice smooth even layer underneath with a chippy brush. Then I'll put a layer of glue over top as well. And I'm using the hard bristled brush to get down into those grooves and to really push the air out across the surface of my picture. I'll take a wet wipe and I'm just going to remove the excess glue from the sides. Then I'll just repeat that process with the 2 other tins. So I just popped outside before and there was one single cicada carrying on out there. I was thinking, did the other million cicadas hook up or something and you've been left single for the night? Dude. I was thinking the sides of my tin were a little bit plain, so I've taken some sage chalk paint and put a smooth layer on a pane of glass, and I'm using my favourite text stamp And I'm just randomly going to apply that all around the pink part of the tin. It's very hard to see and the camera is not really picking it up on the video. I'm using ballet pink on the wisteria coloured tin, and for my mint green tin I'm going to use a sandstone colour, but the variation wasn't quite enough, so I had to add some white to that to make it visible. Again, this is a step that you could leave out, but I'm just trying to add as many techniques as I can in this video. So the next thing I did to these tins I'm not actually so sure about, so tell me in the comments what you think. I've taken this black acrylic exterior paint and I'm painting the rim at the top and the rim at the bottom on each of the tins. Do you think it was a mistake, or do you think it's adding to the character, which was what I was hoping to achieve? I don't know. I think I liked it better before. It could be to some people's taste though. Anyway, I'll carry on and wait till I'm finished and see what I think then. I saw this fantastic idea on Pinterest where you use these little pull tab lids. I'll just flatten the tabs back with pliers. Then I'm painting these in the sandstone and the sage chalk paints. These make such great tags and I thought they were a brilliant idea. You could use them for all sorts of things. I gave these 3 coats of paint, and when they were dry I took some of those little roses out of the book and fussy cut them all the way around to go on the tags. I'm just going to decoupage those on one side with the wood glue. I'll paint the little tabs at the top in black just to tie it in with the tins. And these are going to go on the 2 planter tins. I completed the second coat of black on my tins and on the little tags. Now I'm going to age the tags and tins with that antiquing wax method and my little sponge. So if, like Bridget, you want to see me create some specific items, let me know in the comments and I'll endeavour, if I've got the materials, to make that happen for you in future videos. I've got some more planter ideas, but this video is getting a wee bit long. So Bridget, there'll be more to come in the near future. You'll notice that I'm applying the antiquing wax quite heavily to the tin, and I'm using a wet wipe just to dab and wipe that back a little bit until I like how it looks. If you want to make your tins look more rusty, you can apply a little bit of black paint before you add the antiquing wax in random places around where it would rust naturally, and add a little bit of cinnamon while the paint is still wet. So I do think I like that black a little bit better now that I've done the antiquing wax. I'm also adding a little bit of wax to both ends of my corks. And I'll thread them onto my flexi wires. I've cut those at about 45 centimetres. Then I've threaded through about 5 centimetres on each side, and I'm going to twist that wire around itself until I can't do it any further with my fingers, and then I'll use the pliers to twist it the rest of the way. I repeated that on my other tin. And to attach my 2 little pull tabs, I'm going to use little gold ribbons to tie them to the wires. If you have some genius ideas for these pull tabs, please let me know about them. So there's my 2 little planters. I'm going to add some clear wax to all of the tins, the corks and the tags, and I do this with a shaving brush. This will add a level of water resistance and it will seal in the chalk paint. With this clear soft wax product, you just leave it on the surface for about 15 minutes and buff it off with a dry cloth or a paper towel. So that's about it for my upcycled planters today. If you've enjoyed this video and you've stuck with me, you're almost at the end. Please consider subscribing for future videos. So I'll say goodbye from the beautiful Marlborough Sounds in New Zealand. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. My YouTube friends are superstars. Bye for now.